look, we live our lives to hopefully make a difference and leave a mark. This is our mark. I mean, this is it. It doesn't matter the comfortableness of how our life is. You know, I'll share. I can tap out right now and I'll be really good, but it's not socially responsible. And for me, this movement, as it should be for everyone out there, in their own way. And believe me, this HuFi, name it any way you want. It could be yours. I don't care. But this is a way to leave a positive mark in the world.
It's time to talk about block producers on EOS. Who are they? What do they do? And why do they do it? In this series, I will highlight the various block producers in EOS, either of the top 21 who produce the blocks, or of the many standby producers waiting in the wings. All right, hello everyone. It's time for another of my series of BP interviews on the EOS blockchain. And today I have a very, very special guest with, I think, a lot more to talk about than just the block producers on EOS and Maurice's particular block producer. I think today we're going to get into some things that are honestly just more important. They involve real people, and that's what all this is about. This is all about community. It's all about the people behind this technology we call blockchain and EOS. So to me, it's I'd be absolutely remiss to focus on the BP piece, and instead we're going to focus on the stuff that matters, the people. So Maurice, thank you for your time, and thank you so much for being here and everything you do.
Chris, happy to be here. Thank you for all the work that you do to bring awareness to this technology, which it's already proven that it has many efficiencies, and it's just a matter of educating people and onboarding people and providing people with the tool to be able to interact with it. So happy to be here. I can't continue without mentioning the real life events that are happening and to 3 EOS community members. The update as of this morning, Thursday morning, is that they're still being held. They're being held under charges that could be very easily clarified. All documents and supportive evidence have been sent as quickly as possible. What the community can do is to answer our tweet. There's a petition there that should be signed. It doesn't matter where you're from. You don't even have to put your name, but the numbers do matter. And this petition, especially if it's retweeted and retweeted with the names that we are sharing, it will have an opportunity to reach high-ranking officials that could help us clarify this misunderstanding and free these 3 individuals. So that is the most important thing that I can tell about myself. There are 3 people that are being held unjustly because of their use of EOS, and your support is important. So, you know, let's start with that.
Yeah.
This is not the one though, Chris. We changed the app. I just sent you let me send the one that we should be sharing, because this particular secure was not was not a good application to count the signatures. Let me send it to you right now.
Yep.
There you go. That's the one.
So this is where people want to go, right? This is the tweet we need to.
But we also need to retweet. And when you retweet, we need to add those 4 Twitter handles that I've also shared with you. Mm-hmm. Right above this sign.
Those are the names there. I'll include these in the notes to this, so anybody watching this can just copy paste these. these names.
Exactly. We need those. That's very important for those four to be included.
Okay.
And just say, please look at the situation happening in San Carlos. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
So, so beyond that, Maurice, is there anything else that we can do? I mean,
so no, let's stay organized. Let's stay positive. Everything else is being done behind the scenes to, first of all, register the platform, which is one thing they were asking, which is no big deal. If we knew right off the bat, well, we would have registered it already. But there's a lot of stuff that we're learning on the fly of how this blockchain, well, one, how quickly it can affect people's lives somewhere else, and then two, how are those effects folding into how the government wants to see these events being regulated. As soon as this started happening, we started looking in the other countries that we're in. Peru, for example, does not have one single law that addresses crypto. So, how do we weigh all these things that are happening so quickly, and especially when it's starting to affect real use? The number one thing that you guys can do is retweet with those four names, sign the petition. The rest we're doing, and if there's more things that the community can do, I've been updating. But number one, it would be that.
Thank you very much for that, Maurice, and I'll do whatever I can to share that and to make sure we get those Twitter, those influential people who can make a difference, just push them in the right direction to do the right thing. So thank you. And so then, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? You're obviously a very passionate, thoughtful, conscientious guy. You're doing a lot for a lot of people. I'm sure it's a long story, but what got you here?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. And we're not going to go that far back. We're only going to go far back about 9 years.
Okay.
So one of the things that happened in 9 years ago was that I produced a documentary about monetary policy. So this is the documentary that everyone in crypto should see. It's called Jekyll Island: The Truth Behind the Federal Reserve. Everything there is true. Is a comprehensive documentary about American history with some European history that explains how we got into fractional reserve lending and how we got into central banks. And so what's very interesting, and I'm going to put you on the spot in live television. You may want to edit this or not, but you're Canadian, so you have a way out. But let me ask you this. How many central banks has the United States had in its history?
How many central banks have the United States had in their history? I would think just one, but it sounds to me there's probably more to this than that. So
that is correct. It's not one. And that begins already how we're talking about how I got into this. Okay, so this documentary is incredible. It's the cerebral cortex of the movement. Everyone that I've hired, and we're about 34 people strong, where I'm actually paying for people, boots on the ground. We're going to see a lot of pictures. We're going to see a lot of, these pictures are the result of a lot of energy, and that energy is the result of boots on the ground, of people knocking on doors, meeting people face to face, onboarding, showing them how they're doing, how EOS works. And it just happens that the Venezuelans, because of their need, You know, I mean, how can you do anything when your fiat currency is devaluing by 10,000%, sometimes in a month? Most people don't know, but their banks just were closed for about 9 days while they recalibrated the value of their fiat currency. They just erased six decimal points. I can't even remember this. I mean, it was crazy when I first landed in Venezuela and started seeing some of the stuff that was happening. People couldn't have, permanent prices on any of their products. Imagine just every day having to erase your board and writing a new price and believe it is to be able to come to some sort of agreement of what the value of your product is. So anyways, it's been absolutely dynamic. And what this documentary explains is how our liquidity is created into existence. And I am going to tell you the answer right now, even though you should watch it because it's absolutely incredible. It was well made. The person that wrote the script has been writing about this for years. I was lucky enough to meet his acquaintance in the early 2010s, and we got together. And Jekyll Island is an actual island off the coast of a barrier island off the coast of Georgia, and the monopolists of the Gilded Age would meet in this hotel. This is a true hotel. You can go and visit, and these monopolists of the Gilded Age would meet night after night, having black tie dinners. And so what would a monopolist having dinner with a bunch of monopolists think of next? And what came of it was another monopoly. It was the creation of the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. So anyway, we're going to put that aside, but I make everybody understand, and I ask this question: how is liquidity created into existence? And the answer is through debt. One is fractional reserve lending, and one is national borrowing. Now, going back to the question that we started, the United States of America has had 3 central banks in its history, and everybody should read what happened with the first one and the second one. At least read that, which will tell you that we're still in the wrong path. But it doesn't matter. I did not create the documentary as a sign of disrespect for this great country. I am of Colombian descent. I was born in Colombia, Medellin, Colombia, through no power of my own. I came to the United States as an immigrant, as a little kid, and I am incredibly grateful of everything this country's given me. And I created that documentary with respect in mind, not with, we're doing this. So, but the thought of the teachings of the documentary is what EOS MicroLoan, what EOS Marketplace is about. Instead of a few hands being able to create liquidity, EOS.io, EOS, and programming is allowing everyone to create their own liquidity. And so, in essence, that is it. So while, ordinarily, a customer has to have the money to be able to be used at a place for a service or a product. Now the person that sells the product has the opportunity to create that loan fully backed and no interest, which is another thing that I want to touch base. I mean, there's so many things, so you're going to have to bring me back. I want to discuss the no interest.
This is good. Keep going. Yeah. I like to hear about
the
this.
No interest is a really interesting thing. It appeals to many things, and I did this on purpose because we've grown up with the fact that every loan should be attached to an interest, but that's not true. It shouldn't be true. We made it so that there would be no interest. One, because we knew that we were going to do some micro lending. And so how do you charge 6%, 8%, 10% on $10, on $5? So, you're going to have leakage in when you're doing your program is multiplying and dividing, and how many zeros do we do, and what do we end up with the resource, with the extra stuff. So we're going to end up with leakage. So as a programmer, I knew that we don't want to be messing with leakage. It just creates an opportunity for an undefined variable to create a loop and to create an error, send us to some loop, and now we're trying to find the bug. All right, but here's the interesting part and this brings us back. So in 2013, I produced a documentary. It took about 2 years. Bill still did a phenomenal job in producing, like he's done with his other work, which, by the way, I would recommend any of his work. He did The Money Masters. He's done The Wizard of Oz. He's done, I think he did another one, I don't remember. But they're all on YouTube and you can find them. At the same time that this is happening, all my businesses were always, hitting a ceiling at the programming. How do we create a tool to, do fueling better? I have a business in repair, truck repair and bus repair. Well, how do we improve some of the day-to-day operations? Well, it would always depend on writing some kind of program that the crew and people could use. So I was a volunteer coach, basketball coach in a park, and we've had many families that follow me along, and the kids were starting to get older, and I said, I'm teaching sports, basketball, but basketball is really not going to do too much for their future. So I started a programming academy. Every Saturday. We still have that. And the programming academy, I decided to take it myself. So every Saturday, we've been meeting every Saturday. I think it's either November of 2012 or November 2013 when we first started. And I started learning how to program. We started with the basics: HTML, CSS, some Java, but got away a little bit from Java, JavaScript, very good, Net, PHP. Towards the end of the years, the last years, we did about 1.5 years of C++, and that's when things really started to get interesting. Right around 2016, the end of 2016, Bitcoin now, I knew a little bit, I would hear it, but I really didn't understand it. And it was when the programming and the Bitcoin hit that then made the connection with my monetary policy knowledge. And so that's when I started mining for Bitcoin. And I had a pretty big farm going. I think I got as many as 400 ant miners, 14 terahash machines at one point.
Nice.
But then I went to a blockchain conference and I met Brock Pierce, and he was giving the initial talk of the conference. And I didn't know. I mean, what he was talking about was phenomenal. And I was there to meet people that were mining for Bitcoin to see if they knew of any other a machine maker, hardware maker besides ant miners. So it was really interesting. Well, I was there for something else, and then I started a lot of stuff he was talking about. I started to make the connection of everything that I was feeling. Mining Bitcoin, it's not something I was passionate about.
Right.
It was creating, and so that's when I started. Then I started. The DApps word started coming up in 2017 for me, and I created a Google alert of DApps. And within a couple of weeks, the EOS came up, and then the Brock Pierce came up. I didn't know he was Brock Pierce. And then I started getting these articles that would come like once every 2 weeks. You would have a few alerts of DApps. Now they're coming every day. The alert gives you a lot of articles. And I made a connection with EOS, and at that point, I stopped mining for Bitcoin, and I started full on concentrating on EOS. And that's when we started programming C++, our programming academy. And that's when we started writing our own smart contracts. And one of them was this EOS MicroLoan idea. And what it was is I wanted to send 200 phones down there. I bought some phones at an auction here, iPhone 6s and some Samsungs, A3s. And I sent about 200 down there. And I said, well, I don't really need the money, but I don't want to give
Venezuela. This is to Venezuela. You were
Yeah,
active in trying to improve their life even back many years now. Okay.
this is November of 2019 when I sent it down there. And November 19 when we started sending the phones, but it took for a while. And then we started, well, how do I didn't want to give the phones away, because if you give them away, there's no tracking and there's no movement. And so I said, well, how do we keep track of, selling someone a phone, even if it was $50 or whatnot? It was very important for me to just not to give it away, because, with that, we can really help others and so on and so forth, and create a certain level of interactivity. And that's really when EOS MicroLoan idea was born. We started writing contracts where we can write a loan, anybody could, and upload it to the mainnet. And if people made 50 cents, it would automatically deduct from the balance. And here was one of the incredible parts. And by the way, I haven't forgotten about the interest, why we haven't charged interest. One of the incredible parts is that we made everything in US Federal Reserve dollars. So if a song was sold for $50, then it was $50, no matter what the price of EOS is. So the price of EOS at that, whenever someone clicks pay, and you should see it, because we're getting better and better with making our apps more smoother.
Or the Venezuelan currency. Like, you obviously didn't use that currency as the denomination.
No. It's always been EOS. It's always been EOS, but the price of what EOS is at that point in time. So, for example, if you go to eosmicroloan.com, you'll see the price of EOS on the upper right-hand corner. We leave it for about a minute or two. I think we're querying every minute, because if you start querying every day, every second, then you start going to have like some problems. Yeah. So right now it's 467. And so if you make a payment on that, it'll use the 467. So here's the other incredible part of why we didn't charge interest. When we first started the documentary, we had a capable guys that came, and we still have one of the original professors now, who's now part of the team. His name is Pranoy B, and he's been an incredible asset to our team. Incredible asset. But the other professor was Amgad, and Amgad was Muslim and very devoted. And my goodness, in his behavior, we could see it. He was generous, patient, calm, intelligent. And I don't know if you know this, but interest in the Muslim religion is classified as usury. Right. And so in the Jekyll Island documentary, we were fortunate to interview some Muslim professors and others, where they brought back, I think they included that in the documentary. So what best way to really make an impact is, one, be able for anyone to be able to create liquidity by then providing a loan fully backed with no interest. And this is now what I've coined the term HuFi, human generated finances. So now that person that has the ability to fix shoes and repair shoes can do that of their own accord, and bring up, if it's $10 to fix 2 pairs of shoes, go ahead and do it. I mean, worst case scenario, you didn't do anything with your time. And so this is exciting. This is another term that I'm starting to use with my intellectual friends, because what is it? Every technological revolution is always brought about some form of efficiency. The agricultural revolution, the industrial revolution, the information revolution. But this one's really interesting because what this revolution is bringing, and I'm not capping it to that level, but for intellectual standpoint, it's true. And the term is that it's harvesting time. So while an individual didn't have the ability to be more productive because maybe they didn't have this ability to create this liquidity before, now they could. And so we're harvesting people's time where ordinarily it would have been lost. And so this is HuFi, and what is HuFi doing? Is harvesting time.
So,
and one of the things that we're pushing is how do we get more tools, more phones in people's hands? It turns out, and I don't know if you know this or not, but many of the phones that I sent in that December of 2019 were no good. You know, there were Samsung's A3s, A5s, but even I didn't know at that point that we would need minimum of two gigs of RAM and, you know, a decent processor to be able to interact with the blockchain. And so this is why recently we're making a huge push. I mean, you guys can look at our accounts. I think we've given maybe 400, maybe close to that. It's Xiaomi's, Redmi's 9As, which have 2 gigabits of RAM and 32 gigabits of storage. They sell about anywhere, depending on how we get them, from 115 to 129, 134, the last ones, because we try to buy a bulk and then we resell. And then what we do with reselling is that we have promoters in the area that are the boots on the ground that we lead by example. We'll give you a no interest loan for a tool that you'll be able to use to interact with US blockchain. We onboard you with an EOS account. We give you this loan. You have the decentralized apps now to engage, to pay down your phone. And so we're creating a EOS account holder that is, you know, ready to be in the pit. Yeah. And so this is incredible because now they go out and they talk to their friends and family members about EOS. We have a group that is focused on the immigrants that have left Venezuela so they can send the remittances back. And so this is really starting to take off. And then, you know, of course, being honored by the community, and everybody's upset with Block One. I'm very pleased with Block One. Yes, they could have done more, but you know what? So could each one of us that are saying that they could do more. We could do more, and so thanks to their support. And believe me, they didn't. They came to me kind of. I said it to them, but they saw the work. It says we're going to vote for you, and I actually flew out to the Ukraine. Because, as a blog producer, let's not forget that I have partners in the prospector team, and they were very responsible for creating the platform. We wrote some contracts and smart contracts, and we proved that it works, but it was the prospector team that put it all together for us and helped me launch EOS MicroLoan and helped me launch EOS Marketplace. And so I flew out there in July of this year, not a couple of weeks ago, to make sure that they would be, agreeable to be partners with us, and they agreed, and they're working behind the scenes to improve on our apps. And we got some other great ideas. And by the way, they're a great team. They went off a little bit on wax, and they've done well, but we have to find a way to help them out also. And they're working behind the scenes to help me improve EOS Marketplace, EOS MicroLoan, and we're going to be working on some other stuff together as well. In fact, we might, we might talk about some of the other stuff. So we came back and Block One.
Is this the prospectors team, like the game? This is what you're talking about, right? The prospectors game. Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. I played that a bit. That's a good game. And I got to ask you one thing before you go back. Just to understand, because I'm curious about this, inflation is sort of the incentive for the opportunity cost or the loss thereof of giving up your money to someone else to then have, and you have opportunity costs there where you can't use it yourself. That's what I always understood the purpose of inflation was. Can you speak to that? Like, I understand this. To me, perhaps there shouldn't, like, maybe it's just charity, like you're helping other people to utilize what they can do. But is there something that I'm missing in that?
Yes. Well, number one, it's not inflation, it's interest.
Sorry, interest. Apologies.
Yes. And number two, I'll have a perfect example of how I can create an imaginary paradigm of how to explain why the way liquidity keeps being created from fractional reserve lending and through national borrowing is what leads to inflation, and it shouldn't be that way. Okay, but let's go back to your question.
Yeah, and it's the right word, interest.
Interest,
yeah.
But it's the value lost to use the money, and that's where MLTs come from. And a lender is charged 1% fee when the person makes a payment. 1% fee goes to EOS microfund, the smart contract. Okay, so there's 1% fee. Half of that percent, 0.5%, goes to the house. That's us. The other 0.5% is shared in two ways. 0.25% goes into a community account, which is Div Micro Fund. Why don't you share that account with us right now, if you can? Div Micro Fund.
Is that an EOS account, obviously?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let me find it. Div Micro Fund. I see it. Share the screen. This one here.
Exactly. So Div Micro Fund. So this is a community account. All these EOS are staked to a EOS paying proxy.
Okay.
And okay, so let's put that aside. And go back to EOS MicroLoan, the EOS MicroLoan website that you had.
Yep, let me find it right there.
Perfect, leave it there. And the other 0.25%, remember, it's 1% fee.
Yep.
0.25 goes to Div Micro Fund, where we're staking the EOS and getting rewards. Let's leave that aside. There's a dynamic part that happens there as well. Okay. And then there is the other side is shared into the ML smart contract, where 0.25% of the fee, it's shared every day at exactly 0000 UTC time with everyone that staked their MLT in the system.
So it's a DeFi application that's not just based on some token inflation. It's actually based on revenue or income from the use of these loans. That's great.
You know what? Why don't you let me share my screen? Okay. All right. So this is what the rewards user interface looks like. So join this. I know this is, I need to address this because this created a problem when I first released it. I used a lot of the prospector ideas, and everybody frowns that I use username and private key, but the reality is that you avoid a lot of bugs if you do that. And if you have like poor connectivity, like you do down there, it's 1 megabit per second, or megabits per second download, and the upload sometimes not even 0.5. So being able to not use a wallet is an advantage if you have low connectivity.
I see. So just for people to understand, you're saying that when you sign in, you literally have to paste your private key as the password as opposed to using a wallet. And so some would frown as that's not appropriate, right? But you make a point.
No. I'm saying that you don't have to. We can use Anchor. I can use Anchor to sign in.
Okay.
But I choose to sign this way because it's just way faster. Right. Now you can, just use a restricted key just to sign in, because a lot of the stuff is you use a restricted key and it's just approve your actions to that restricted key. So it's, this can still be safe without having to redo everything. Now there's still a little bit of bugs in between all the wallets at some point. So there's still, that's still not very smooth. But anyway, I'm choosing to sign in this way.
Yep.
Just because even if it gets done, I have, what is it? The EOS are not going to be that.
Well, and like you say, if someone's trying to use this and they don't have the connectivity speed, so what, you just don't use it, or you do it and you do it that way. To me, and you can use Anchor if you're so concerned. So I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Exactly. But we're working behind the scenes. We have our own node, obviously, which is improved speeds. We know that already. Now we don't depend on stuff. This error, JSON parse -1. I don't know if you've seen it or not. Would drive us crazy, because this is, your tables are updating, but between the time that your user is going through the node that you're using for your decentralized application, and then for it to come back, if it's at that weird time, your table might not load up correctly, and so then you get an error. And so anyway, it avoids it. Signing in this way avoids problems. But I hear the community, and a lot of the stuff that we've done that's not super important for speed, we don't offer this kind of signing. We have CryptoMiner, okay, which we've deployed. We're not using that. Anyway, going back to the rewards, because this is what we're talking about. This is what I have staked, and I can easily stake my MLT. Boom, it's staked. And because we use our fast node, now it updates by itself. And these are the claims that I'm entitled to claiming. And so, I can claim it. And so now if we go back to my account, we could see how quickly all that happens. Look at this. Look how I already received it.
Speed of EOS.
So you're asking. I hope I answered your question. This is freaking awesome. Yeah. Because now your MLT does have value. It's part of the fees that we're all sharing daily and around, and it's going to also an account that's community account where we're receiving some income. And then half of this income gets added to the fees that are collected during the round that will then be distributed amongst everybody that's MLT, correct? And then the other half gets added back to these 2000s. So, if anybody wants to see this grow bigger, please donate to this account. But here's an interesting thing. Do not donate to this one. You donate to Rex Microfund. Rex Microfund is the account that I use to send, and this will show it. It happens every day around 5 o'clock, right here. So if you see this, every day at my 5 o'clock, UTC 000, half of the EOS collected go to distribution, and half of them go to Rex Microfund. This Rex Microfund is what I now stake to Div Microfund. I had to do it this way for programming reasons. I separated the accounts. Then Rex Microfund creates. Well, actually, I can. Oh, I just did it this morning, so it won't work. I then stake through Rex Microfund the EOS to the voting proxy that are under Div Microfund. Anyway, I might have been a little wordy, but anyway.
No, it's good. Well, that explains it. That explains how the transactions work and what the incentive then is, right? And that also, the MLT token is a crucial part of all this then, right?
Yeah. Oh, and it gets better than that. So the MLT, obviously we created a DeFi box, so you can sell it, you can buy it, you can stake it and provide liquidity for it. So you could help in that part as well. And then, obviously it's got value. If you provide the liquidity, you're also getting a form of payments. But we also made being on the US marketplace map, it comes with some very cool tools. And so to be on the map, you have to pay MLT. To sign up to CryptoMiner, which I shared with you earlier today, by the way, I shared with you today, you saw that I'm not on it all the time. I just set it up, and when the phone rings, I act. If I wouldn't have acted, I would have already lost some, because obviously the price has dropped. But to be on CryptoMiner, you have to pay a membership of MLT. We're going to be deploying EMPtemplate1.com, which we're going to have to talk about. And that is going to be an incredible tool, because it creates it gives anybody the ability to have a point of sale system using their own EOS account name and bypassing every third party. We talk P2P, we talk C2C, C2C, whatever all those things are, right? But it truly isn't P2P, because if it's P2P, why do I have to still use PayPal? Why do I still have to use Visa, MasterCard, Fiat? This will allow every person to be able to order and cancel with no third parties needed. Well, I mean EOS, but that EOS is a decentralized platform. So what it does is you're able to easily type in your item for sale, link a picture, and then you push a button, we spit out the code, and now we're the ones maintaining that tool. We got to be clear, this tool was started by US Rapids, the app serve, and I loved it, but they haven't really maintained it on the mainnet. So we're going to maintain it, whatever it needs to maintain, and we're going to be buying the RAM, up to a certain amount of RAM, so that everyone has the ability to push their website onto the mainnet. And this is really incredible, Chris. We're lowering the bar by providing this tool, because not anybody can just go out there and get your website. And if you got to get your domain name service. Now you have to watch out for that. You have to know where to point it. You have to know all these yeah, exactly.
This was like the example you had sent me, where you can use this account template maker of sorts, and it can lead to this, correct?
Well, we're actually way ahead on that. So you can log in. Why don't you try logging in and see if that
will do. So what we've got here is an example of this. Essentially, do you want to describe sort of what this does while I log in?
So what this does is EOS Marketplace, I did it on purpose, only had three promotions. So three items that you could sell. Let's see if it and that was on purpose. It was supposed to be loss leaders, and I didn't want to create a lot of weight with the app as well. Again, from a programming standpoint, I couldn't turn it into a full-on Mercado Libre or Amazon or eBay, because that comes with a lot of other things. So we just wanted to do three options, and a lot of the other stuff that's very dynamic on that website, like to be able to land on the front page. Let's talk about that really quick. Can you go to eosmarketplace.io? Once it's cash, it's going to be good. But if you scroll down, all these businesses have to participate in an auction type to be on the landing page.
Okay.
So a lot of this stuff you have to do with EOS Marketplace. So anyway, we can go back to the exactly this one. So it became obvious that people were starting to use it, but they wanted more than just three items. And what this also is doing is that, number one, you're able now to quickly interact with your customer without having to go through a different platform. So to give you an example of this, imagine if eBay set it up where you had your own website through eBay, and every customer can act directly with your website that eBay's making available for you, including payment, without having your customer to log in to eBay. I mean, it's an incredible thing, because sometimes you already know what you're going to buy from someone, and so why not interact with them directly? And this exactly what you see is what we spit out on our template. So this is the website, but we're going to have a template where you put in all your information and we spit out the code. We help you push it through, and now you're all set. So in this case, it's for our programmer, and you can say, do an order one. So quantity, click a one on the top one, and then place an order.
Okay, it's come up. Slide to confirm.
Okay, so you theoretically placed an order then, and it was side. So in his, and I'll make sure he doesn't accept it. But in his back
I should learn some programming.
In his back end, he'll see that someone ordered an hour of programming, and he can approve it, and then you can go into EOS MicroLoan or EOS Marketplace and pay it.
Okay.
And it becomes that simple.
Right. And this is running on EOS, just so people are clear. This isn't running on some hosted server somewhere else. This is running on the blockchain. Yeah.
And what's cool is all of it is the picture. You have to provide a link to where the picture is.
Right.
So Telegram gives you the ability to maybe create a group, create or a channel or a group where you just put your pictures there, and then you're using the Telegram link into our template. And so we're calling that picture along with everything else.
Mm-hmm. Pretty awesome. And I think that the template, which you said it maybe has changed, but this is essentially what it can look like, right? A very basic template.
This is exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, perfect.
This is exactly what it looks like.
Item, price, details.
We're doing something else. In this, where it's this box at the bottom, your full-on HTML code shows up.
Okay, so as I go, I fill in things.
But this is before we were depending on EOS Rapids. So then you grab your HTML code, and then you would go to EOS Rapids, and then insert the code, and then within a few minutes, a few seconds, really, your website's up. So this one is only working with the EOS Rapids, but they're not maintaining it anymore. They're still maintaining the Jungle one. So
okay. So
anyway,
is this something you're obviously, one of the many things your BP is essentially helping to support and fund is bringing this over to mainnet, so it can be, and you can support it yourself.
Yeah, and what I'm hoping for is that that more people use it anywhere. I mean, the system's there to be able to use anywhere. I'm already paying all my employees, all my gardeners. There's some people, our professor, we pay with EOS, and they don't have to. Sometimes people say that the usage of EOS Marketplace is a little complicated. Well, using emptemplate1.com and having your own website is going to be as simple as you can get it, and you don't have to depend on anything. And we're paying for all the RAM. We're paying for all the RAM that it takes so that you get your money right away, because everything gets logged in under the EOS Marketplace smart contract.
So these are all different vendors that are set up in your system that are accepting EOS as a currency for payment for their work.
Correct. What EMP Marketplace did, or EOS Marketplace, I should say, is that it created a physical information that people can interact with each other and know where they're at. Before, when I launched EOS MicroLoan, we hit the streets and people were putting, the aceptamos EOS sticker, but that wasn't very efficient, because you would have to walk around and find out other people that accepted it. We're linking businesses throughout the world that are accepting EOS.
So the three gentlemen that have been arrested and are now in jail are one of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who are doing the same thing. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that's fair to say. It's unjust. It's unjust, but it should be clarified. They shouldn't be in jail. And this is where we're at. This is where we're at. Never mind that we're not like even dealing with big numbers. I mean, all our stuff is micro. And if we look at the smart contract EOS marketplace and we see some of the loans that are occurring between person to person, it's cents. Sometimes it's just 50 cents. So it becomes a little frustrating that you're trying to do good and our efforts have landed 3 people that are innocent in jail.
Well, you've got 1,008 vendors in Venezuela, and percentage-wise, 3 people is actually pretty darn good. I mean, there's a lot of other people that could be there. If they were really going to come down on this, you could have 1,000 people in jail. It's absolutely horrendous that anybody has to end up in jail. But I hope that those 3 men, I'm sure they are aware that their time there is going to be, and then their eventual release and that victory that will come, I believe, that will be I mean, they're helping 1,000 other families and communities and people to not have to go through this. So, they're doing heroes work. No one should have to do it, but I hope they're strong men, and I'm sure you're giving them the encouragement and support so they have the kind of the conviction to stick this through and recognize that this is a big deal. And this is just Venezuela. There's so many, like Africa still needs I mean, this type of thing is so powerful what you're doing. And
I will point out that for sure they're heroes, and they know that they're not doing it for themselves. They're doing it for the many others that are coming after them. I don't want to go into any details about their situation because we still want to be hands in hands with the government. I mean, we don't want, this is not a rebel movement.
Right.
This is a movement of good things. El Puente Grande is the theme that we want to always come back to. We want these guys liberated through the big bridge is what we're calling it. And for them to be liberated with their dignity, not because they're paying a fine, not because they're out of jail, because we paid their bond. People need to realize that this is part of everybody.
Yeah.
This is for everyone there, and for everyone there to be able to have some kind of hope and traction for them to produce. Because let's aside from a plummeting fiat currency, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So we're hunger shouldn't exist, and it's silly because Venezuela is one of the richest countries in the world in terms of what Mother Nature has given them, and I mean, look how much they've done. Look at the product you're just sharing. That's EOS. That's a cheese. Hats. More cheese.
Hand soap. I want some of this soap. This is awesome just to have on the shelf. Being a big EOS fan, right?
Yeah. Through a microloan, this came from Finca EOS One. This came from someone that we helped out, and he does a lot of this came from another lady that says, look at the front of right below the handlebars. It's EOS. Yeah. But this jailing of the 3 people have created a lot of fear in the movement. This milk is EOS. We provided microloans for pasteurizing machines. Look at the tobacco. They cook it and it's EOS. The coffee's EOS. This is great. This is where they physically got arrested, because we're calling even the markets that we're helping deploy EOS. Yogurt, chocolate milk. This is an example of one of the 400 or 500 phones that we've provided loans with, and a lot of people pay it. Chris, slow down on this one for a second. Let me share with your viewers just how incredible this could be if everybody just all did it, and we were all more into a rhythm of doing it. This person is receiving a phone a smartphone now that they can interact with the blockchain. As they pay it, if they pay 25 and then 4 people pay $25, that means we can go out there and get another phone. If 4 people pay, now we have $500. That means, assuming that everybody pays it, that means we can go out there and be very close to buying another 4, maybe having some leftover, maybe 5. If sometimes we get lucky and get them for less than 100, we've been successful with that, but we lower the price. Anyway, the point is that as these guys get paid back, now we have the money again to buy another 4 phones, and these 4 people have their phones. So we can go out there and get another 4 phones out there, and they pay it back. Now we have 8 people that have phones, and we have the money to go help another 4 people to have phones. And so now imagine that we're not just doing this with phones, that we're doing this with electric stoves, which is now one of our promotions. I can talk about that because that's pretty awesome too.
There's this story, right? The fridge.
I want to talk about that. This is an incredible thing. Everybody should read it. Everybody should share it. By the way, 2 of those 3 people are in jail, on the top picture. What does it do? The first picture shows that we empowered an EOS account holder that made from scratch this exhibition refrigerator. The guy on the lower left, his name is, we call him Mega. And his name is Manuel. And he was given a loan to have a truck, and he does a lot of the fleet work for us. So he used his truck to go out to a different city to pick up this refrigerator, which now went to this family down there in a different city for them to have in their little market. And then if you look at the lower picture, then it got filled with the milk products that were created by this other person that was given a microloan for the pasteurizing machine. And there's another person that we gave a microloan that makes or it has the connection to the plastic container company that makes the containers so that we can do it in EOS. So it's like an example how empowering one person will lead to the empowerment of the next action, and then the next action. And what this picture is supposed to show is the connection of all these people that have individually been helped that now are coming together to a point to create some incredible actions, because that's an incredible picture at the bottom. A refrigerator that was made by someone using HuFi that then was able to make it to another city using HuFi that then got their products into the refrigerator using HuFi, and it's just euphoric.
It's incredible. I sit here in my comfortable chair in Canada, and you have these people who have been through so much outside of their control, right? They don't control hyperinflation and government policy that leads to the desperation in that country. And yet through all that, these people are working so hard and together, and look what they are able to accomplish as a community and as striving human beings who are capable of so much, and yet so much that is outside of their control holds them back still, and they still persevere and fight through. I think it's so incredible. It's absolutely emotional. You're really happy I'm having this conversation, Maurice, because what you're doing to empower this is it's really awesome, man. Like, I know you're doing great things, but you're doing great things.
So I haven't enjoyed any of it in the last 3 weeks. I mean, these guys have to be released, and it has to be a dignified release. And we're there to help the people, and we're there to help the government. And my knowledge, my energy, the code was set up so that you can pay a tax right off the bat. Just how easy it is when you make your payments. And we shared about it. I clicked on the claim rewards and boom, it appeared in my account. Well, the code is also written. So when you sell products, you can have an agent, a sales agent. And by the way, those phones are sold when those phones are sold, the promoters are entitled to 5% commission. And so every time somebody makes a payment, 5% of that payment goes to these promoters. So on top of me paying them a salary, they also get a reward every time somebody makes a payment. But the code could easily accept another box where it could be a tax. That brings us back to another rabbit hole. And remember, you can pull me out of this. I already warned you. We can go into this in all kinds of ways.
This will be the longest interview I've done with any of these, but it's the best. It's the most necessary. So go rabbit hole away.
All right, are you ready for rabbit hole ahead? Rabbit hole ahead, here it comes, because I'm going to dive right into it. When the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 was enacted, there was an article that was also enacted that had to be enacted so that the Federal Reserve Act would work. I'm not going to put you on the hot seat, but it was Article 19 or Amendment 19, where it created income tax. Income tax hasn't been around for forever. Yeah, it was put into the law.
I know.
Well, this is what the point I want to make. The point I want to make is, how were taxes collected prior to income tax? You know what? And I had the word and it escaped. It was a tax,
like a tariff.
It was kind of a tariff, but there was another name for it. It was user's tax. Like if you bought wood, that's when the tax was charged.
Oh, like a sales tax.
Man, it wasn't a sales tax. God, I had it when I started my sentence, and I got all excited about the rabbit hole. Anyway, the point is that the tax could be added as part of the real-time transaction. What I'm getting at is that I always thought that blockchain should go hand in hand to some way with an account that goes for public services. And the cool part is that, well, now we have, through the blockchain, could know how these public services money is used. I mean, however we invent things, if we do not create a bridge with public services, we're not going to do as much as we can do. Anyway, the point is that everything was written with trying to comply, making sure everybody is empowered and everybody has a say in the table, a say. So the doors are there to open. Let's release these guys. Let's talk about how things could be created better, so that everybody can participate without fear that their liberty is going to be taken away. Excise. It was an excise tax. That's the word.
Okay.
So prior to 1913, there was no income tax. There was an excise tax. And the excise tax would work incredibly beautiful with blockchain and even the ideas that we have in EMP, EOL. But anyway,
great.
Should I tell you about the history of your VP and your infrastructure? What are you proud of?
You know what? Let's skip right to. We talked about so much. I'd like to know maybe what you're most excited about the future of the EOS blockchain, and then what can we do as token holders to help you? Let's go just to those. Okay, sounds good. So what excites you most about the future of the EOS blockchain? HuFi. That is just what I would love to see happen, because, HuFi is human-generated finances. It is creating a loan that is fully backed, no interest. And I want to now touch base a little bit about what that means to me. That means we're turning how our liquidity gets created into existence on its head. We're saying we're empowering right now. Our liquidity is created into existence through fractional reserve lending by banks and national borrowing. And I'm not going to go into it. You got to watch the documentary for us to go more. And two, everybody now has the ability to create their own liquidity
in their own little region with their own little group of people that that they interact with. And so that is probably what excites me the most is this ability to empower people. And why is this empowerment important? Because the Venezuela movement, all these products that you're seeing created, these are not dumb people. These are highly intellectual, productive, uh, educated people. You know, the products that we're building, there was chemical engineers involved. There was agro-industrial engineers involved. How to improve shell life, the pasteurizing. This wasn't just your mom's recipe stuff. And then we had to get the tags registered with the health services. I mean, this is a lot of stuff that was done in a short amount of time. And why am I excited about this HuFi? Because it's got to do something about the stemming of immigration between countries. I've heard that as much as over 20% of the Venezuelan population has emigrated. That is just sad. And where they end up is I mean, I don't want to talk about my path as an immigrant. It's not a fun path. Can you imagine, Chris, being thrown into France? All of a sudden, you're leaving Canada, you go into France, and you have to learn about blockchain technology, but you don't speak French. Oh, well, you might speak a little French, I guess.
I do, but I get the analogy. It's okay.
Yeah, it's really tough for an immigrant to land somewhere else and then learn their language and then expect to work and then everything else that comes along with it, the insecurity, the racism, the many things. There's many things. I'm not gonna go into that. I had about as rough as a beginning as you can imagine, and I don't want to talk about it. But the point is that this whole thing that's happening in immigration, it's just sad. All these people that are crossing the jungle of Panama to try to get to the United States it shouldn't happen. All the issues that are happening in Africa still. HuFi could at least create a foundation where people get empowered and have hope so that they can make where they're at better. The saying that where's the grass greener? The grass is greener where you water it. It's never greener on the other side of the fence. It's where you water it. And so, and that's what HuFi can do. And we're here to help everyone. Oh, by the way, on this 1,000, we could be over 2,000. What you guys don't see is that there's a membership to be on the map. And I've been kind of a stickler about that, because if I just let somebody put their name on the map and then somebody comes around and wants to interact with EOS and EOS Marketplace, and the person that's responsible for it doesn't know how to do it, well, that doesn't give EOS a good name. And so we wanted to charge a little skin in the game. So this MLT is you have to pay for it to stay, your digital presence, plus everything else we do behind the scenes. The idea there is that if you do interact with someone, then they know, and EOS has a good name. So
where can I buy MLT if I want to purchase MLT tokens or any
DeFi?
DeFi box, I mean, or like, is it one of those?
DeFibox.io.
They have it. Okay.
Yeah, they have it. But
okay.
but you know what? The best way to do is, and maybe you can set up EOS, your EOS marketplace, and start interacting with some people in your area. I mean, that's the best thing you could do. This is why I'm so excited about EMP Template 1. It's going to dumb it down even more, right? I think EMP Template, EOS Marketplace is self-explanatory. I mean, eBay doesn't give you that many instructions. it's even easier than eBay, and it's more dynamic because you can do so many other things. But EMP template 1 is really going to bring it down. So you have your own things, and someone can just come into your store, click on it, pay it, buy it. You are going to have to log into EOS Marketplace or EOS MicroLoan to pay off the loans, but it will be really, really simple. And why am I excited about this? Because I'd rather that you earn it, because that really is why HuFi excites me. Is because it's free. It just has to have a social action. And you know, before our interview, you coined a term. Social what? I want to write it down.
It was a social score.
Social score.
Without the credit
social
part.
score. It's a social score, and I'm going to be using this term because that's exactly one of my goals of the HuFi movement is we need to start grading the good people. Let's give it a thought experiment. And by the way, I haven't forgotten about the thought experiment of the 405 freeway. It's like my favorite thought experiment that I want to share. But let's do this. Well,
wherever you want to go.
The 405.
Yeah. Go for it.
All right. So if we start creating fully backed loans, and if we start giving these loans at no interest, we should start to turn the wave of how the monetary unit should be more powerful over time, as opposed to the system that we're on, where it becomes less powerful over time. And this is the example I always use. The 405 freeway here in Los Angeles is like probably one of the most expensive or more important roads that probably exists in the world. It's used, it's 8 lanes or 10 lanes at some point, 5 lanes going one way and 5 lanes coming back. This was built as part of the Federal Reserve, the Highway Act of 1958. Another interesting thing that you were going to want to research. But anyway, the point is that a worker in 1958, or when it was starting to be built, did let's say a mile. They were responsible. Let's say not even a mile. Let's say they were responsible for a tenth of that mile. Well, back then in 1958, you know, where people were getting paid like even in the 50 cents still per hour. And so their Social Security number, the Social Security at that point, when they went into Social Security, if they stopped building it or put, let's say 30 years in there, so the 58, so 88, they stopped. So now they get a Social Security check. I'm going to say a couple $100, nothing more, if that was the case back then. Well, what can $400 get you today in Los Angeles? Not very much. But imagine having to buy that section of the freeway today in today's dollars for what that person created. And it would be, I kid you not, it would be millions, maybe in the tens of millions for a little section of the 405 freeway. If this freeway had to be rebuilt now, if it didn't exist, I would say it would be easily maybe 20-30 billion dollars. And I'm just thinking from the 101 to the 10, which is not even most of it. What I was trying to show there is that how is that fair? How is it fair that the worker responsible for a tool that they built, the community uses all the time, their efforts are worth less and less over time, which should be worth more and more over time? And that's what the HuFi movement is supposed to do, because as we start using, in this case, it would be EOS, if we start to sequester EOS, maybe through the liquidity, maybe through everybody has savings, then the people's value or savings will become higher and higher over time. And so, you know, it's there. It's a thought experiment, it's a goal that we can all achieve together. And you take out the fractional reserve lending, and you take out the interest, and we're going to get closer. It's a reachable solution. So anyway, HuFi.
It's reachable, and it's possible on blockchain where otherwise wasn't possible, because now you can tokenize assets. HuFi, you can tokenize these things, and then they're on the blockchain. They're immutable. You can see this. So there's an ability to do what you're saying now that didn't exist prior.
Yeah, I mean, it's euphoric. I mean, the movement's euphoric. I've done this all from with very few players, and mostly from my desk, and it's euphoric about the changes that can be reachable. You know, and every time I say euphoric, immediately I come down and I think with these guys. But I'm telling you, 3 weeks ago, you could sense it. I was waiting for that catalyst, that it would be just that it would start to see exponential growth. And you know, we're now challenged with this, which we'll overcome. And I can't wait to overcome it, but it has to be the right way. You know, it has to be through El Puente Grande. It's got to be legal. It's got to be dignified. It's got to be honest.
Be that way. Yeah, it needs to be that way, because then it won't happen again. So you want to do this one example and have it be the only example. So I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And we need people's help, and someone of high power can easily help us and get this clarified. I'm not against paying a registration fees. I mean, I'll tell the community right now, I'm paying a lot right now to get this process in their eyes registered. I always felt it was legal because they already have laws on the book that EOS could be used, but now they're saying that, you know, EOS MicroLoan is not registered to be able to provide loans to people. So that's what we're trying to clarify. And by the way, we're creating a foundation. We're not creating a business, a nonprofit foundation that will be registered on the SoonerCrypt, and the SoonerCrypt's roles is to make sure that there's no illicit use of cryptocurrencies. And my goodness, this isn't. I mean, look at the products. Look at the Telegram. Look at the people's accounts, what they've used it for. I mean, we're talking, transferring of $2
Yeah, it's all there for people to see, and the audit trail is clean. Yeah. Okay. How can we help you beyond the tweet, tagging those 4 important people, obviously voting for your block producer to keep you guys generating revenue to help support this mission that you're on? What else? Anything else we can do?
Okay, so I think everybody should try EOS Marketplace.
Okay.
And figure out with their close people how you can start arranging a mutual exchange of products and services. For sure, when EMP template 1 lands, that has to be used. You know, you got to. The movement, how we can help the people that are behind bars is for somewhere in Canada start it. Even if you're interacting by just buying, or your haircuts, with your gardener, with your fast food place. I mean, you know, obviously this is going to have to start with people that have more need. We in developed countries are not aware of how difficult it is everywhere else. Just the internet connectivity, just the phones that we have at our touch. It's not how the rest of the world is operating, and it's a little frustrating because the people that want to embrace this are the ones that are in need that don't have the tools. And so what I'm trying to say is, using EOS in this matter is HuFi, according to how you define it, and what you can do your own, is how we can start spreading the message. And I know it's hard. I mean, I have run things in my company where I would give 20% specials of all different types if you pay me in crypto, and it hardly ever happens. But this is America, where everybody's already has credit cards and everybody has everything, and you know, they don't want to. Their status quo is comfortable, and if they raise the taxes or lower the taxes, it goes from very comfortable to maybe not as comfortable, but it's always comfortable. So there's nothing there for people to do. an example of this. I'm like really, really comfortable. So it takes, a certain click of moral responsibility, because at this point, this is what I am doing, what my group in Prospector is doing. And this is why, as soon as I got there, within the first day, we were on the same wavelength. What we're doing here has nothing to do with making money, has nothing to do with anything else. It has everything to do with being responsible, socially responsible. And so that's how we, the ones, the viewers, our viewers, English-speaking viewers, we are probably comfortable with everything that we're doing. We're definitely not going hungry, and we can stand up from our desk and get food within 15, 20 minutes and do a lot of things. But this is not how it is for the rest of the world. And so I think that would be the first thing, is to use it. Number two, we do need votes. I think it's, Eden, I want to join Eden. I haven't, but, in my defense, I am encouraging people to join Eden from our account. You know that our Spanish beehive is the most dynamic of all of them. I even have paid through other channels some of the people that are running it. But I do want to do, except I just have no time. And here's the interesting part on that, how I am contributing to Eden. Someone, the average EOS holder that we onboard would never have the opportunity to join Eden, because you need a tool, you need a phone, you need a PC. There's no way around it. So we're making it, as Eden was coming up, is when I started changing a lot of my promotions to more phones, to get more people involved. And so, and here's the interesting part, Chris. When you start creating liquidity that is fully backed with no interest, that loan has to be paid back. We use dollars as your relative price, but to pay it back, you need EOS. So imagine if you go out there and you do something super spectacular, and you create a loan for Zach, let's say, for $10,000 for doing all the PR marketing and logo coordination and all that, and you raise this loan.
Sure.
And the only way that Zach can pay you back is with EOS. The EOS in the platform, and EOS is at $5 or whatever it is, it doesn't really matter, has to get EOS. So now imagine that 1,000,000 times.
Right.
That's how we can create a demand for EOS from the root level. See, right now, every block producer is in the higher end of our chain is an exchange. That's not really creating a lot of, re-injecting the inflation we're creating back for the good of the community. They're taking it and either holding on to it, or God forbid, they're selling it so that they get to their fiat. So anyway, so people have said, well, join Eden, get the financing. Well, I mean, it's tough to be part of it, but do I applaud it? Of course I applaud it. Any change is better than no change. The other one is vote for our proxy. Vote.mlt is our proxy. We have close to 1 million EOS votes there, and that will allow me to create a certain level of power to exchange our votes for someone else. Right now, we're only voting for like 4 people, and I've gone out there and I've knocked on doors, and I can't seem to get votes. And I want Brock Pierce's be on his proxy. There's a lot of, I'm not the type that uses the mic to be negative, but there's some block producers there that not running anything, that we could be there. They just chose Costa Rica, which is fine by me. I felt like I got, it was a little, because I've been asking, and I've presented some cool stuff. I know Brock Pierce. I've taken some pictures with him. We've even had a cold beer once. And I've tried to get a hold of them, but a man like that, it's hard to track down, and I haven't really tried a lot. But being on that proxy would be great, and on the proxy of US Nation would be great. We do not pay for our votes. We use our votes. Obviously, there's a tier of I'm sharing our rewards with the prospector team, and the ones that I get, I immediately re-inject for uses on the EOS, and for EOS ideas. So anyway.
Okay. Well, hopefully this will be a long interview. I will probably preface this for the viewers that this is an important thing to watch, and I think watch it all. And the likes of the Brock Pierces of EOS, I think we can get his attention eventually. I think he's in the space. He's around, and so we just need to just be persistent. We'll persevere and persist, and eventually we'll catch his ear. And from everything I've seen him present, his heart's in the right place. So it's just a matter of getting that connection, pulling on the right heartstring, and then hopefully those votes can flow your way. But in the meantime, at least you're in a paid spot, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. It's great that Block One, all the flack that they get, this is something that should be absolutely highlighted. This is a good thing that they've done. So there is good there, and the idea of closing the door and forgetting Block One, that's an irresponsible position, because Block One does do good. They have the capacity to do great things, and just because everything isn't perfect doesn't mean it's all imperfect. So, well, thank you, Maurice. This has been really an incredible discussion. I really appreciate your time. I'd like to do this again. I think when you have updates, about the three gentlemen, please feel free to reach out to me and use me as a vector to share your news, anything about that you're doing. It doesn't have to be this context of the BP. I'm happy to do these interviews about things that personally are far more important. So thank you for what you do, and I hope we stay in touch.
We'll be back. You have my permission to edit as much as you want. From creating, and this will be my last joke going off. So from creating the documentary, our first cut was 3.5 hours, and I was on the camp to just leave it. Everything there is true, and everything should be shared. Right. And it was like, no one's going to sit for 3.5 hours. Well, Chris, no one's going to sit through. I don't know where we're at. I mean, an hour and over.
Yeah, we're well. Yeah, I mean, I'll chop it into more than one.
Chop it, please. You have my permission, and whatever how you see it that we didn't cover. I'm happy to do this again.
Yeah.
Sure. This movement, and I know I get wordy and stuff. This look, we live our lives to hopefully make a difference and leave a mark. This is our mark. I mean, this is it. It doesn't matter the comfortableness of how our life is. I'll share. I can tap out right now and I'll be really good, but it's not socially responsible. And for me, this movement, as it should be for everyone out there in their own way, and believe me, this HuFi, name it any way you want. It could be yours. I don't care. But this is a way to leave a positive mark in the world. And so we can't lose faith in all this negativity about the price. Forget the price. It's the value. Concentrate on the value, and concentrate on who yourself are and how could you leave your mark for someone else. And so anyway, thanks for having me. I will be happy to come back. I see what you've done, and use me as a tool for your message. I'm happy to contribute.